I am running for the United States Senate because Ohioans deserve someone who has been on the ground in every corner of our state, working to save and to create jobs. I've worked every day to stand up for Ohio families and small businesses who have been hurt by 8 years of misguided trade and economic policies, disastrous fiscal policies that ran up our national debt, all of which brought us to the deepest economic recession in most of our lives. I will not stand by at this critical moment in the lives of our children and our families and our state and our nation, which is why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. Right now, Ohioans are losing their homes, their health care, their jobs, through no fault of their own. For years, Washington policies have worked against Ohioans, giving tax breaks to companies to ship their jobs overseas, bailing out banks but shortchanging small businesses who've paid their bills on time, and partisanship and obstructionism placed above the needs of Ohio's middle-class families. That's wrong. And I want to bring some Ohio values and common sense to the U.S. Senate. My grandparents, Papa Jack and Mama Sarah, settled in the little town of New Philadelphia, Ohio, in Tuscarawas County, and they opened up a little dress shop. And they had the common sense and the guts to make it work. They taught their family and they taught me the value of an honest day's work and thrift and investing in the future. And throughout my life, I've tried to stay true to those values. As head of the Center for Families and Children right here in Cleveland for 7 years, we taught young men how to be responsible fathers. We helped kids stay off the streets and out of gangs. And today, I fight for Ohio's families because they believe in those values too. But sadly, Washington insiders and Wall Street bankers have been working against Ohio families. I learned from Papa Jack and Mama Sarah that every job matters, and I've learned that every single job in Ohio is worth fighting for. Let me give you just one example. One day I got a call from Sue Lesh. She's the mayor of Norwalk, Ohio. I could hear the panic in her voice, and she said, "Lee, the bank has frozen the credit line of Norwalk Furniture. If this happens, they will go under, and if that happens, you might as well close Norwalk, Ohio." So I jumped in my car and I drove up to see the mayor and the CEO of the company. And it took us several months. But we convinced the bank to give the company more time. We put in a loan, but more importantly, we were able to convince a group of great community leaders to step up to the plate and to save the company, matching what the state had invested. We saved 265 jobs, but in some ways we actually saved the community. And there's stories like that all around Ohio, whether it's Alcoa here in Cleveland, or Bridgestone Firestone and Goodyear in Akron, Ford Brook Park Engine Plant right here in Cleveland, or GM Lordstown in Youngstown. But there's nothing that makes me angrier to see all the good work that Governor Strickland and I have done on the ground in every corner of this state, undermined by federal policies that actually work against, not for, Ohio families. I've learned that the state can do all the right things, but if the federal government is giving tax breaks to companies to ship jobs overseas and bailing out Wall Street while small businesses struggle, Ohio workers and families are left behind. This is not an academic discussion for me, because I've been with them on the ground fighting for them. And this campaign, it's all about them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Now we will have opening remarks from Ms. Brunner.
Thank you. And thank you to City Club for the opportunity to speak with you today, for holding this very important forum, and for having a room that's big enough to hold all these very interesting people. I'm not here today to tell you about what's wrong with Washington. I'm not here today to give you a lot of negative messages. The reason I'm running for the United States Senate is because I love my state. I am very grateful for the opportunities that I've had to serve, starting at age 21 working in the Ohio Senate, and then later on working for Secretary of State Sherrod Brown. And after that, going through law school, having a private practice that I started out of the corner of my bedroom, that later my husband joined, I had the opportunity to serve as a member of the Franklin County Board of Elections, and also to serve as a Franklin County Common Pleas Court judge. It's at that point in time when I started our county's first adult felony drug court that I really got what public service meant. And public service is about empowering people to do things that, in a way, coming together in a sense of a community to do things that they never imagined that they could do. And there's a certain magic that takes place with the right leadership that enables people to do that, so that things that can get done much faster than they thought that they could, and in ways so much more creative when you include people in the process. I understand from having served as Secretary of State that we have in the United States a very special form of democracy, and it is one worth fighting for on the battlefield and in the committees of the U.S. Senate. You see, Ohio is a microcosm of the country, and that is what makes us such a controversial battlefield for the rest of the country. That's why it's looked at as the prize in presidential elections. But that microcosm allows us to see some of the problems that the country's facing even sooner than what the rest of the country does. In 2006, we were talking about the economy while the rest of the country was still talking about the war. Not that the war wasn't important to us, but we were sensing it, we were feeling it sooner than others. I know Ohio, I cherish its people. In the 27 years I've spent working in and out of government, I have traveled all over the state, and I love to meet with them directly. Because each time you meet with the person, wherever they are in the state, you learn more about our great state. As you make up your minds, I ask you to remember that a U.S. Senator must exercise courage, must be willing to fight hard for the people of the state, but also must have the experience to know how complex policy translates through the various levels of government to affect the everyday person. So if you believe that policy should be crafted from the ground up instead of from the top down, I'm going to go ahead and take all the 5 minutes there, thanks. If you believe that policy should be crafted from the bottom up rather than from the top down, as it's been done for so many years to the devastating detriment of people in the state and around the country, then I believe that you will support me. The differences that you'll find between my opponent and me are less issue-oriented and more based on core issues of trust. Ohio voters can trust me to fight hard for them. I've demonstrated it as Secretary of State when I withstood partisan lawsuits and attacks from sectors that wanted simply to undermine the ability of people to participate and have their right to vote. I worked hard to take care of the boards of elections if it meant removing members, which you know up here, some of that happened on both sides, Democrat and Republican, or if it meant surveying the voting machines, studying them, understanding the pitfalls, and creating security procedures to protect voters, or if it meant training poll workers, training elections officials, and in the end, we had no long lines. I fought for a fair election, and we got a fair election, and what the rest of the country could see as far as a fair election was that Ohio had a boring election, and that was a very good thing. Now, I have a record of action, and especially you've seen it here in Cuyahoga County. I've shown decisiveness, and I will continue to be unafraid to take principled stands on controversial issues. While others may hold their finger to the wind, I will be moving forward and taking action and getting things done. My campaign is no different. I remain undaunted because I know that if I win, it's not just about me winning or my supporters getting the nominee that they want and eventually the senator that they want. This campaign allows us to change the Democratic paradigm. You see, there are so many new people who become involved in politics, and they will eventually be running for state or local office. And in that case, we want to make sure that they can run on their values and that they can do so in such a way that they can ensure that their passion for changing communities is actually fulfilled. Money and endorsements should not be controlling campaigns or governance, and I want to open doors for a new generation of leaders who will be able to campaign and govern consistent with their values. This is what differentiates me from my opponent.